Jace Morgan lived alone at the edge of space. He worked in a repair shop on an old space station, far from Earth. The station floated near the edge of the galaxy, where few people traveled. It was a quiet place. Ships came for repairs, fuel, and sometimes to hide. Jace liked it that way. Once, he was a soldier. Then, he built prosthetic arms and legs for other soldiers until the war ended and people stopped needing him. Now, he fixed broken engines and old machines. His hands were always dirty, and he rarely spoke to anyone. But one night, everything changed. The power flickered in the repair bay. Jace was finishing a job. A small freighter had come in with engine problems. He heard something. Not a machine. Not a ship. Something else. A soft noise. Like crying. He looked around. "Hello," he called out. No answer. He grabbed a light and walked toward the storage area. Metal crates were stacked high. The sound grew louder, small gasps, like someone trying not to be heard. Jace moved slowly. Behind two crates, he found her. She was small. Curled up on the floor. Not human. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were too large. Her face was thin, her mouth trembling. She had no translator, no ID tag. One arm was missing, just below the shoulder. Dried blood covered her chest. Jace froze. She looked up at him, scared. She didn't speak. Just held her arm close and pulled back. Jace slowly knelt. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The alien child didn't move. Jace looked at her injury. It was old. Maybe a day or more. The bleeding had stopped, but she was weak. He didn't know her species. He didn't know if touching her would be seen as a crime. But she was just a child. He stood and left. Minutes later, he returned with a blanket, a protein bar, and water. He placed them in front of her, then stepped back. She didn't move at first. Then, slowly, she reached out with her remaining hand and grabbed the food. She ate. She drank. Then she looked at him. Tears ran down her face. Jace didn't sleep that night. He had tools. He had parts. He had knowledge. So he made a decision. He would build her a new arm. He pulled out old blueprints and small servos from storage. Most were for humans, but he could adjust. He measured the size of her other arm as she slept. He didn't know her bone structure or nervous system. He would have to guess. But guessing was better than doing nothing. He worked all night. The next day, the child sat nearby, watching. Still quiet. Still scared. But not running. She held a blanket around her shoulders. Her eyes followed his every move. Jace worked carefully. He sanded metal, adjusted wires, and connected circuits. He made the arm small, light, and simple. No fancy tech. Just something that moved. He finished by nightfall. "Let's try," he said. She looked unsure. He reached out, slowly, showing the arm. She hesitated, then gave a small nod. He attached the arm to a soft harness, wrapping around her chest. It wasn't perfect. It would only respond to shoulder movement, not brain signals. But it could open and close. It could lift. He showed her how. She watched. Then, she moved. The fingers opened. Then closed. Then opened again. Her eyes widened. She looked at him in shock. He smiled. She smiled back. That moment stayed with Jace. No one had smiled at him like that in years. He gave her food and let her sleep in the back room. He didn't ask questions. She didn't speak, but she stayed close. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what would happen next. But in that quiet moment, Jace felt like something in him had healed too. He thought the story would end there. He was wrong. It had only just begun. The next morning, Jace woke to the sound of humming. Not from machines. From the child. She sat in the corner, legs crossed, her new arm resting on her lap. She touched the fingers carefully, opening and closing them again. The limb moved with slow, careful motions, but it worked. She looked up when Jace entered. Her eyes lit up. He nodded. "Good morning." She said nothing, but gave a small wave. "With the new arm?" Jace chuckled. "You're learning fast." He gave her more food. She ate slowly. Every now and then, she looked at him not with fear anymore, but something else. Trust. Jace didn't tell anyone about her. The station didn't care. People came and went. No one paid attention to a quiet mechanic who kept to himself. As long as his work was done, no one asked questions. But something felt strange that day. The sky outside the station turned darker than usual. Traffic slowed. 3 ships docked, all without any registration. That was rare. And then he noticed, the station guards were on alert. Weapons ready. Eyes scanning the halls. By afternoon, the child stood next to Jace while he repaired a broken console. She handed him tools. She watched him work. She didn't speak, but her presence felt calm. Until the ground shook. A low vibration. Deep. Like thunder underwater. The lights flickered. Jace stood up fast. What the hell? Outside the hangar window, a large shadow passed over the station. Not a ship. A vessel, black, silent, and massive. It didn't blink on the radar. It had no engine trails. It just appeared. And then it landed. Right outside his hangar. Alarms rang. The station went into lockdown. Doors slammed shut. Voices shouted across the intercom. But then everything went quiet. Too quiet. Jace looked at the child. She stared at the door, eyes wide. Her breathing grew fast. She backed away, bumping into the wall. "Hey," Jace said softly, "it's okay." She shook her head. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. Then came the knock. Not a loud bang. Just a tap tap tap, too soft for such a huge ship. Then the door opened. Jace had never seen anything like it. They were tall, armored in black, with smooth helmets and glowing eyes. They walked in perfect silence. No weapons in their hands, but danger in every step. 10 of them. And behind them, her. The Queen. She stood over 9 feet tall. Her skin shimmered like dark glass. Her eyes glowed gold. Her head wore no crown, yet she moved like one who ruled everything she saw. She stepped into the hangar. The soldiers bowed. Jace didn't move. He stood in front of the child, heart pounding. He knew he could do nothing if they attacked. But he would not let them take her. Not without trying. The Queen raised a hand. Everyone stopped. She walked forward, slowly, her eyes fixed on the girl. And then, she knelt. The child ran into her arms. She buried her face in the Queen's chest and cried. The Queen held her tight. She whispered something in a language Jace didn't understand, but somehow, he felt it. A deep connection passed through the air. Not with words. With meaning. Then, the Queen looked up at Jace. Her voice entered his mind not through sound, but something deeper. "You healed my daughter." Jace blinked. "I didn't know who she was." "You helped her. Even when you thought it was dangerous." He nodded slowly. "I saw a child in pain. That was enough." The Queen stood. Most would not have. She turned to her soldiers. Spoke a command. One of them stepped forward and held out a small device. The queen took it and placed it in Jace's hand. This is a token. A seal of the Theraxi. If you ever call us, we will come. Jace stared at it. Why me? She smiled. Because when you helped one of us, you showed us who you are. She looked around the broken, rusty hangar. The tools. The half-finished ships. The child's new limb. We did not know what kind of species humans were. Now, we do. She turned to leave. Prepare. Things will change. Then they were gone. The child waved at him one last time before boarding the ship. The queen nodded once. And just like that, the dark vessel lifted silently and disappeared. No sound. No light. Just gone. Jace stood in silence for a long time. The hangar was quiet again. But everything had changed. Jace didn't talk to anyone for 3 days. After the Theraxi queen left, the station slowly returned to normal. Ships came and went. Workers laughed again. But Jace felt different. He sat alone in his shop. The small metal token sat on the table, glowing softly. It had no buttons. No screen. But it felt heavy, like it meant something important. He didn't know what to do with it. He had fixed a limb. Now he held the attention of an empire. On the 4th day, everything changed again. A Terran ship arrived, big, gray, covered in government markings. They didn't knock. 4 officers entered his shop. Sharp suits. Cold faces. No time for greetings. Jace Morgan, one asked. Yeah, he said. We need to talk. They showed him a video. The screen flickered on. A room full of Terran generals. Diplomats. Scientists. And at the center, a tall figure with glowing gold eyes. The Theraxi queen. She stood in the Terran Senate, calm and strong, speaking to all of Earth. Her voice echoed, not in English, but every person understood it. We come not for war. We come because one of your kind helped one of ours, without knowing who she was. Without wanting anything in return. That man's name is Jace Morgan. Jace stared at the screen. His name echoed across every channel in the galaxy. Because of him, the Theraxi will open our knowledge, our medicine, our ships, to humanity. If you will accept peace. The screen went black. The room fell silent. Jace sat still. They're offering an alliance, he asked. The officer nodded. Because of you. The next day, they moved him to Earth. Jace hadn't been home in 10 years. Now, he stood in the middle of the Terran High Command. Cameras flashed. Reporters screamed his name. Scientists asked him 100 questions about the Queen. About her daughter. About the limb he built. He had no answers. He just kept saying the same thing. I helped her because she needed help. They made him the official human contact for the Theraxi. He didn't want the job. But he took it. He didn't trust governments. Didn't trust politics. But he did trust the Queen. And the girl. 1 week later, the Theraxi arrived on Earth. Their ship hovered above the Atlantic Ocean, larger than any Terran city. No weapons shown. No threats. Just presence. The Queen met with world leaders. She offered clean energy, new medicine, better ships. But she also offered something else. Protection. The galaxy, she said, was not a safe place. Others would come. Some would want peace. Some would want war. She wanted humans to be ready. Jace stood beside her during every meeting. Not because he wanted power. Because she asked him to. And when the child, the Queen's daughter, came running into the room, wearing a new upgraded version of the limb he built, Jace felt something strange in his chest. Pride. Not just for the arm. But for the moment. The world changed fast. Terran factories began building new technology based on their Axie designs. Cures for old diseases spread across the globe. Ships flew farther, faster. And the galaxy started to notice humanity. Some were curious. Some were angry. And some began to prepare their weapons. Late one night, Jace stood alone on a balcony overlooking the sea. The Queen joined him. They didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, "You understand things others don't." Jace shrugged. "I just fixed an arm." "No," she said. "You saw pain, and chose to act. That is rare. Even among my people." He looked at her. "Why me?" "Because the child could have died. And no one would have known. But you knew. And that was enough." She turned to leave. "You are not just a helper now, Jace Morgan. You are a bridge." Jace stayed outside a little longer. He thought about his old life. A broken man in a broken shop on a forgotten station. Now, he stood between two worlds. And he knew one thing. He couldn't go back. 2 months passed. Earth was changing fast. New towers rose in major cities built with Axie materials. Hospitals cured diseases that once killed millions. Ships no longer needed fuel. Humanity was moving forward faster than ever before. But not everyone was happy. Some feared the Axie. Some thought they were hiding something. And some wanted the technology for themselves. Jace Morgan felt the pressure. Everywhere he went, cameras followed him. People called him the bridge between two worlds. Some praised him. Others sent threats. He didn't care about fame. He just wanted to make sure the peace stayed real. But deep down, something didn't feel right. The Queen had become quieter. Her visits to Earth were fewer. And her daughter, the girl Jace had helped, had stopped coming to the meetings. Jace asked about her. The answer was always the same. She is recovering. But recovering from what? One morning, before sunrise, Jace was called to a private meeting. The Queen waited for him inside a silent Axie room. Smooth, black walls, no furniture. She looked tired. Her voice was calm, but serious. "Jace. I must tell you something." He nodded. "Someone tried to harm my daughter." Jace froze. "How?" "Not from my people. From yours." His chest went cold. He had trusted humanity to handle peace. He had hoped the alliance would last. But now, someone had tried to kill the same child who saved humanity's future. Jace clenched his fists. "Who did it?" "We do not know yet. But they used human tech mixed with our own. A hybrid device." She paused. "We believe it was a test." "A test for what?" "To see if they could destroy her, and blame us when she vanished." Jace stood still. If someone succeeded in hurting the girl, the peace would break. The Queen would have no choice. She couldn't show weakness. And Earth would face war it could not survive. "I need to find out who did this," Jace said. "Yes," the Queen replied. "But not as a soldier. Or a hero. As someone they trust." She stepped forward. "There is a group inside your own people working in secret. They want our technology, but not our peace. They call themselves the Divide." Jace had heard rumors. Whispers of rogue scientists. Military men who hated aliens. People who wanted human power to grow without help from outsiders. Now it was real. Later that day, Jace returned to Earth. No guards. No press. Just a simple coat and the device the Queen gave him long ago, now glowing a deep red. He followed leads. Old contacts. Military black zones. Broken places where angry minds worked in secret. And after 5 days, he found something. Not proof. But a signal. In a deep, abandoned spaceport under the old Martian colonies, someone was building something large. A ship. But not just any ship. A weapon. One that used both Theraxi and human tech. Jace broke in through a forgotten tunnel. He moved slow. Quiet. Just like in his military days. He saw crates marked with Earth seal and strange energy cores glowing Theraxi blue. Then he heard voices. Two men. Talking in the dark. They said the limb is just a machine, one said. But it linked with her. It talked to the queen. We take her out, the other replied, and we break the link. They'll think Earth did it. War starts. We get control. Jace's blood ran cold. They weren't just building weapons. They were planning war. Jace didn't wait. He ran. Got out. Called the queen. Within hours, her elite guard arrived. Black ships, silent drops, no explosions. The base was gone before morning. No one escaped. Back in orbit, Jace sat with the queen again. I stopped one plan, he said. But there could be others. Yes, she said. But now we fight together. She turned to him. I trusted you once, because you helped a child. Now, I trust you again, to help a future. She stood. The war hasn't started yet, Jace Morgan. But the battle for peace has. Jace looked out the window. Earth glowed blue below. Above, stars blinked quietly. And in between, shadows moved. Some wanted hope. Some wanted chaos. And somewhere, a little girl with a metal arm was safe for now. Because one man chose to fix something broken. Not just a limb. But a path. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed. Earth was no longer alone. Ships moved between stars like cars on a highway. Theraxi medicine ended most human diseases. Spaceports filled the skies. Trade boomed. Peace held. But it was not easy. Behind the scenes, danger never disappeared. And Jace Morgan? He was no longer just a man with tools. He had become a name. A symbol. A warning. People called him the first link. Others called him the reason the war never started. But Jace didn't care about titles. He still worked with his hands. Still fixed broken things. Still kept quiet. But there was one person he never stopped watching over. The girl. Her name was Sci-Fi. Now, she was no longer a child. She stood tall 6 feet, graceful, strong. Her pale blue skin shimmered in sunlight. Her arm, now fully integrated with her body, was no longer just a tool. It was part of her. She spoke fluent Terran. She wore armor when needed. And her mind was sharper than any leader Earth had ever known. One day, she would be queen. But today, she asked for Jace. They met on a quiet moon base far from the cameras, the politics, and the pressure. Jace had more gray in his beard. Sci-Fi had fire in her eyes. They sat by a long window, looking at the stars. You've grown, Jace said. She smiled. And you've aged. He laughed. Fair. Then her face turned serious. There's something you should know. Jace listened. She took a deep breath. The divide, they're not gone. Jace's stomach turned. He had helped stop them once back when she was still a child. But if they were back, they've changed names. Now they hide behind companies, councils, even peace treaties. Jace looked at her. What do they want? What they always wanted. Power. Control. And to break the link between our people. She stood and tapped a small screen. A star map appeared, red dots glowing across the sector. We found a signal. Old Theraxi tech, activated in the ruins of Earth's first colony on Vega 9. The tech is ours. But the hands using it, Or human? Jace frowned. Could be scavengers. Sci-Fi shook her head. It's a trap. Built for me. They know I'm the next queen. She turned to Jace. But I'm going anyway. He stood too. No. I have to. Then I'm going with you. The next day, they left together. No guards. No army. Just Jace, Sci-Fi, and a small ship. It felt like old times. Quiet. Focused. Dangerous. When they landed on Vega 9, the place was silent. Wind blew dust through broken buildings. Old banners from Earth's first colony still hung on cracked walls. Everything felt wrong. The trap was real. Motion sensors picked up energy pulses underground. Theraxi energy. And then voices. Human voices. They walked into the ruins. Inside, the old colony command room had been turned into a lab. Screens glowed. Machines buzzed. And at the center another arm. Just like the one Jace built 10 years ago. Only this one was darker. Wired into a chair. And next to it, a man. "Hello, Jace," the man said. Jace's blood ran cold. He knew that voice. Colonel Trask. A former Earth military scientist. One who vanished after the first divide was destroyed. "You tried to kill her," Jace said. Trask smiled. "I tried to wake her up." He turned to Sci-Fi. "You're not just a princess. You're the key to their mind link. You control their tech with thought. We've studied it. And we're going to use it." Sci-Fi stepped forward. "You think stealing my blood will give you power?" Trask sneered. "Not your blood. Your pain. The original arm linked you to your mother. We're going to break that link. Make you ours." Jace didn't wait. He threw a tool metal, sharp. It hit the power core. Sparks flew. The lab exploded in alarms. Sci-Fi moved fast, grabbing Trask by the collar. But the man grinned. "You're too late." Jace pulled her back. The machines roared. The new limb twisted. Dark wires reached out like claws. "Run!" Jace shouted. They sprinted through the tunnels. Fire behind them. Screams in the distance. The ship waited. They jumped inside. Took off. The ruins exploded below them. Back in orbit, Jace breathed hard. Sci-Fi looked at him. "Why do you still protect me?" she asked. He looked at her, his voice calm, tired. "Because I remember the day you smiled, when you could finally move your fingers again." She looked down at her hand, flexed it, then nodded.